Ahoy, welcome back to another episode of The Captain's Log. My name's Rixley. I'm a systems thinker and strategic designer, and I'm a founder of an online community called The Leadership, where I support leadership and their teams to navigate change and to lead through uncertainty. If you stumbled across this is actually my weekly vlog where I document my learnings through my journey. And the format of this is, if you've been following, is 3 things I learned that's going to help me make better decisions next week, and 5 things that went well. So if you may have seen, if you do follow some of my content, that I have been releasing a lot more Design on Purpose episodes. In fact, I've released one a week for the last 4 weeks, which has been quite an achievement because it's not something that I've been able to do consistently over the last year. I've been kind of on and off with that podcast, and now not only have I got 4 of those podcasts out consistently each week, but I also have another 3 episodes scheduled, and I'm actually recording another one this evening. So that brings me to my first learning, which is actually that it is possible to actually release a podcast a week. It just requires discipline, it requires planning, and it just requires it to, bring that in as part of my weekly routine. So that's been a really big learning curve for me. I think a lot of my career, I've kind of had this attitude of about motivation, being motivated, being purpose-driven, being passionate about what I do, and that's kind of been the basis of how I've been operating. But I've never really had this really consistent daily rituals or routines around the work that I do. And I think this is something that is generally a barrier for people, or something. It's probably a lot of the reason why a lot of people quit, because a lot of the time the things that get you places are actually these consistent actions that you do every day, weekly, monthly, yearly, daily, that actually get you to the place where you want to go. And a lot of these things are really quite boring. And so I've last year has really been a big learning curve on that for me. And that's just with everything in my life in regards to my health, my well-being, my fitness. It's all just been through these repetitive actions every day. Nutrition as well is something that I've been doing the last couple of months, and I'm getting huge results. I've actually lost 15 kilos in the last 12 months, which is pretty wild. So I think that deep work is something that requires routine and discipline. And what I've been really focusing on as well is in putting in, and I know I always talk about these anchor points and having these anchor points that keep you stable and centered in this world of uncertainty. But I'm actually reflecting each week on these things through doing this weekly podcast. Where I actually reflect on my learnings. I sit down, I actually think about what did I actually learn this week, and how is it gonna make my next week different? So I'm always iterating on my process. I'm making myself do those things daily, like editing the podcast, creating systems around the podcast. And that's actually helping me to actually build momentum and get that flywheel turning. And I think it's really important to create discipline, and it could be with something so small. Jordan Peterson talks about this. He's like, just get one little thing in your life in order. Just start with one corner, make your bed in the mornings or whatever it is. But for me, it has been about creating these disciplines around content creation, for example. I think you'll also notice that if you saw the last video I did, I was trying to get the lighting right. And I think today it's looking a lot better. So, these are small little micro improvements that you can make. And if you don't start shipping stuff and you don't start actually doing stuff, you're not actually going to make those learnings. In fact, just yesterday I was talking to a young guy down here at the gym, and just wanted to know about this content creation course that I did. And he's doing an about me video. He's written the script, but he hasn't recorded it, and he's been procrastinating and putting it off. And we had a really great conversation around, and I'm like, look, mate, the real fact of the matter is that you're not going to get the video perfect. It's your first video that you've created. Just get it done, because the learning's going to be from when you post it to the next one, and you're going to redo that video every 3 months. Let's be real. So let's not hold on to it, try and craft it, make it perfect, make all these excuses about the software and not having what you need to get it done, or not making the time to actually just record the script or whatever it is. You just have to do it. And it's through actually doing these things that you get better at them. It's through reps and it's through the discipline that they actually become easier. So I had this really huge hesitation and this real resistance with the Design on Purpose podcast, because I thought to myself, it's just too hard to release a podcast a week. Like, why am I investing in that? I mean, it's something that I really love. I love to do it. I love talking to people. I meet a lot of really interesting people. I love to share that with people. It's just something that I've always attracted, interesting people into my life. And I really love doing the podcast. And actually, since I've been pushing and trying to create more of them and create more content, Design on Purpose podcast, it's actually become a lot easier for me to do. I've got my setup. I've worked out how to make everything a lot more easy to set up and pack down. I've been scouting locations around the place. I've got a really good system for editing. And I've only been able to do that through discipline. So if there's something that you are resistant to start, I would say just get started, because the only way to learn how to do the thing is to do the thing, and create some discipline around that thing. And it could be something so small to start with. The other thing I learned is that I get really obsessive with what I'm working on, right? So when I was flying back from Sydney, I just started editing this Theme Reigns podcast. I didn't know I was going to do like another 7 episodes in the next 2 weeks. But once I started going and I started to get the energy moving on that particular task, I got obsessive with it. Like, I've just gone to town on the Design on Purpose podcast. If you actually go to the channel, it looks really good on TV, by the way, if you view it on the television. But I noticed, like, to do really good work, I think you have to be obsessive. You have to be obsessive with the thing that you're working on to make a good product. I really believe that. And I think through that obsession and that creativity, that's where there's a real magic that happens in that place. Getting lost in the work. And just on that as well, like I have to learn how to balance that obsession. When I get obsessive with stuff, now I need to learn how to, like, okay, I'm obsessed with the podcast right now. Let's get that flywheel turning, get a good system around it. And then I'm going to bounce and put some energy onto the school community, get that going. And then I can bounce back. So that I need to create a balance around how I shift my inspiration and my creative energy, so that I can make sure that I'm balancing all these projects and these things that I'm working on. The other thing that I learned as well about YouTube in particular, I actually was really blessed to be able to have a Christmas lunch with this guy who is actually a YouTube strategist, and he works on YouTube accounts that are like 1 million plus subscribers. And I just got to sit there and pick his brain, and we just talked a lot about design and creativity and content creation and strategy and everything. It was really amazing. Drank a few beers on Christmas Day, had a nice lunch, and got to have this awesome conversation with this guy, Ian. So what I learned, and I had no idea about this, is that actually YouTube is a business. And I hadn't really thought about it like that before. I didn't know the numbers of YouTube, and I didn't know that you can actually turn your YouTube channel into an actual business. And I didn't realize there were actually channels that were operating like businesses with full teams, got their own office space, doing production and everything like that. Like, they're actually TV channels online, and I hadn't really thought about it like that before. So it's really kind of opened my eyes to, like, what the opportunity is on YouTube, and being consistent with YouTube and actually focusing on YouTube and making good content, long form video content. So it's definitely something I'm thinking about in terms of educational content and strategy and all of that. So yeah, that was a really big eye opener. And wow, I learned so much that last couple of weeks of 2024. It was a big year, 2024, for me. And so that's my 3 things. That's my 3 things that I learned. I mean, there's some other stuff in there too, I guess. just really around developing yourself as a person through your work. My teacher would say the real consecration of work is not the work that we've done, but it's actually who we become while completing the task. I may have mentioned that before on this podcast. I probably will mention it again because I just think it's so true. Is that the whole process of actually doing and making and actually just getting into the work and getting obsessive and following the flow and expressing your creativity and learning stuff, because every time I have to like create something new, I'm always like looking, okay, well, what's the best way to do that, and iterating on my process, or watching YouTube videos of other people that have done X, Y, and Z. And so I'm constantly learning and gathering skills and developing myself as a person as I actually create this content, create the Design on Purpose YouTube as well. I mean, that YouTube channel, Design on Purpose, I mean, that's been such a huge learning for me, because just, there's a big learning curve with podcasts. I think if you're doing multi-camera, you're cruising around with lights and recorders and things like that, because there's so much stuff that you've got to think about in the actual production of the podcast, making sure everything's working. I mean, there's always been one little thing that's kind of gone wrong with each podcast. The last couple of videos I've put up, the video's not 100% there. I'd like to get it there. I'd like to get everything really crisp. I mean, I'm shooting with 2 iPhones at the moment and this Sony camera that I've got here. So I would like to, invest in some more good cameras with proper lenses. But it's just, and even last week I put a video out, the Amy Rainbow Skates episode, and I exported it with the wrong audio on the timeline, so the audio was really out on the YouTubes. Luckily, a friend of mine, Louis Diaz podcast, he watched the episode and he let me know. He said, "Hey, dude, there's something going on with the audio." So even though it had like 20 views or something, which is, for my channel in a couple of days, 20 views is substantial for a new episode within that time. So I made the call to just pull the video, lose the watch hours, and just re-upload a new episode with clean audio. So, there's things like that kind of happen, and that's a learning, So next time I know, okay, well, next time I upload that video, I've just got to double, triple check that the audio is good. And just there's a few little things I got to make a checklist about and just make sure that everything's all checked off. So it's a real learning curve, but I wouldn't have learnt, I'm not going to learn this stuff unless I actually do it. So that's it. I mean, I'm editing everything myself. I'm recording it all myself. I'm getting the guests. I'm finding the locations. I'm doing it all myself. So I think at some point I'd love to hand off the editing and hand off all that stuff to somebody. But at the moment, I'm actually really enjoying the process of doing it myself, because I'm learning a lot. Very valuable skills you learn from making content, talking to camera. I mean, learning to even talk to camera for 30 minutes. I mean, how long have I been talking for? 15 minutes, 14 minutes, 13 minutes. It's a real skill in itself, and it's something that you don't really realize that you can't do until you start doing it. And even now, I look at some of the stuff, even hooks in my language, the way that I look, some certain crutches that I use in words or things like that. And, you're always kind of like refining yourself to be a better communicator when you're talking to cameras. You're able to have that feedback and actually see. So, yeah, it's a real journey, guys. So if there's any if there's anything that you've got there for 2025 that you're just kind of like haven't started on, and you're just kind of sitting on it, maybe ideas, and you're just kind of making these excuses about needing to learn how to do the thing, my advice to you would just be to just get started. No one's going to see it anyway. No one's watching these Captain's Logs videos. This is for me to learn about content creation. This is for me to learn about lighting and getting the audio right and how to ship something, and also to have discipline around shipping something weekly. And I didn't actually ship something last week because it was New Year's Eve when I went to record, and boom, all the fireworks started going off, and it was a little bit crazy around here. I actually had a 360 view on the rooftop up here. But I should have planned that better. That's a lesson in itself. And I also was quite burnt out because I'd edited like so many videos, recorded so many podcasts the week before. And also I had been walking around in the rice fields at Tabanan, stepping in mud. And when I went to record my solo episode, and I was just exhausted. I got so sunburned. It was just, I would have just looked like a complete crazy out there in the rice fields walking around. But yeah, so I think just get started, just make a start, whatever it is, something small. If you're sitting on a script and you're too scared to record the video, just do it. It might take you 50 takes, but you just gotta do it. You're going to learn how to speak to camera. You're going to learn how to edit. You're going to learn how to put that video together. You might even learn how to like collect your B-roll from your camera and put some B-roll over the top, jazz it up a bit. But it's all a learning experience. And, the next one is going to be better. And then the next one's going to be better. Then the next one's going to be better. So it's all a huge learning curve. If you're an executive or a senior leader in an organization and you want to start working on your personal brand and you think you're not creative or you don't have any equipment and this, that, and the other, you can actually do a lot with your phone. You can actually do a lot. It's just actually investing in some lighting would be better. iPhone cameras are amazing. And, just make sure the audio is clean and just start, because chances are you have something valuable to share, and chances are you're going to get better at sharing it the more you post and the more content that you actually create. And I think it's a really great time to build a personal brand and to learn these skills. I think they're very, very valuable skills, and they do help you to develop as a person. So the 5 things that went well this last week. Well, I did record and release the solo podcast, as I just told you about. I was walking around in these rice fields. And so that's episode 31 of Design on Purpose. I also released the Amy Rainbow Skates episode, which I'd been sitting on for quite some time because my idea was that I was going to have like 10 episodes recorded and then I was going to ship them off to someone else to edit. But I've just decided to just get them out because there's a problem when there's too long of a time frame between releasing the episodes because you kind of lose the context. I also recorded a really great episode with Murray Ash, who's just written a book about intuition, the science of self. And he's all about helping people to find their path to purpose. He's a student of Gabor Mate. And I had this really cool tea house at Odara, and we recorded this really cool podcast in this really nice setting in the forest in Odara, and this little tea house, Japanese tea house, was really, really cool. And I love it. I just really love where the podcast is going, actually. And I'm now 4 episodes ahead. So the leadership community is something else that I know I've been mentioning, and this is probably something that I can honestly say that I am procrastinating with. I have some resistance to opening the leadership community, and I think it's because I've never opened a community like this before. It's not something that I've had experience with, and I know that I just need to get started. And now that the energy is flowing and I've got these podcasts out, it's something that now I'm going to shift my energy back to. And I'm really starting to see how the podcast and the leadership kind of works together. Something else that I did was I actually started a Buy Me a Coffee membership tiers. So I'm not sure how this is going to work right now, but I've got like a membership tier from $1 a month all the way up to like $50 a month. And I might even make a $250 a month tier and maybe include some like one-on-one Zoom calls for strategy sessions or whatever in that. But I want to start developing some cool stuff for that side of my community as well. So like I'm going to keep adding value to those tiers. I don't know what it is 100% yet. I haven't got it all worked out. But that is live as well. The Buy Me a Coffee link, you can actually see that in the description below. So have a look at that too, just to give you some inspiration. It's something that I'm putting together. All of these little bricks I'm just kind of clamping in there, kind of working it out. I'm not sure how it's all going to come together just yet, but I'm starting to see how these things are all going to start connecting in. And the other thing is I the other thing that went well was that I had planned to go to Wonderfruit in Thailand over the new year, over December time when that was on, mid-December. And I actually decided not to go. And that was a really great decision, not only because it would have taken me a few weeks to actually recover from that, but also because I've used that time to actually get ready for 2025 through getting rid of some of these old projects and tasks that were kind of sitting around in my inbox, like the podcast that I had sitting on the drive there. So I'm really proud of myself for making that decision. There's plenty of times to party and have a great time, and right now it's time for me to get super focused and to keep working on this content. So I'm really happy about that I used that time wisely, and I got set up for 2025. On New Year's Eve, I stayed home. I made sure my room was clean. I started cleaning up files on my computer and organizing B-roll and doing all that stuff. So normally I'm out on New Year's Eve. To be honest, I think New Year's Eve is always a little bit overrated. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but it was too crazy around Canggu. There was just scooters everywhere, lots of people here, lots of tourists. And the energy was just super crazy. So I just decided to stay home and take care of myself. And also I got the best view of the fireworks anyway, because I had the 360 view from my rooftop. It was amazing. And they even had a countdown at Finn's Beach Club over here with drones, like a display. And we even got the countdown from the sky here. You could see all the fireworks going on around 360. So it was amazing. So yes, that's it from me. Next episode, I'll go through my 2024 year in review. I've just been listening again to Paul Chek's How to Plan Your Year podcast, and I've just put in a Notion template. I've actually created a Notion template for it with all the prompts and all the questions, just to kind of review 2024 and plan my 2025. Some of the things, the must-haves and the must-not-haves. Reviewing my relationship to self and to others and to all. And also, he gets you at the beginning to frame your nightmare. Like, what's your nightmare? So I've just kind of been reflecting on that. And so I'll share that with you guys following episode. But that's it from me, guys. Don't forget to put those anchor points in to take care of yourself. Get to training, drink lots of water, filtered water, clean water, and eat clean. And I will see you next week. Hold fast.